What if the limits you think you have? What if they aren't really limits at all? Imagine, tapping into some kind of deeper potential, moving beyond what we usually think of as normal.
Right.
Ancient Indian wisdom actually talks a lot about this, doesn't it? This transformation from ordinary to, well, something extraordinary.
Exactly. Yeah, today we're really diving into that territory. It's fascinating stuff. We'll be exploring concepts like siddhi.
That's your yogic powers?
Often described that way, yes. And also tapasya, which is more about disciplined, focused effort.
Okay.
And our guides for this are really the ancient teachings themselves and some pretty compelling stories that sort of light up this path of inner growth.
So our mission then, for this deep dive, is to really try and understand the core principles, maybe some of the practices behind this.
Yeah.
This evolution towards inner mastery, this almost divine transformation that the texts hint at.
That's the goal.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
When we use the word superhuman here, what are we actually talking about? Is it like flying or super strength?
Yeah, that's a really important clarification. It's not quite the comic book definition,
Right.
In this context, superhuman points to something much deeper. It's more about awakening the inherent power of your soul.
Ah, okay. So less about bending steel
Exactly.
and more internal.
Precisely. This kind of expanded capability, it's understood to come through practices like yoga, naturally, but also the focused power of your will. That's Icha Shakti.
Icha Shakti. Willpower.
Right. And also your resolve, Sankalp Shakti, that unwavering determination. And of course, deep meditation, Thrain. The idea is that these things allow you to actually transcend the limitations we normally just accept as, well, human. Like that inner drive, Icha Shakti, when you're absolutely determined to achieve something. That's a taste of it.
Okay, that makes sense. So are there figures in these traditions who are actually seen as having reached this state? Like examples?
Oh, absolutely. You look at figures like Hanuman from the Ramayana, his strength, his ability to fly, legendary stuff. Or Parashurama, the warrior sage, known for incredible skill and intense discipline. And even someone like Ashtavakra. Despite, physical challenges, he was revered as a sage of immense wisdom. We don't need to get bogged down in all their stories right now.
Sure.
But they give you a glimpse of what's considered possible, which naturally leads to the question, how does someone even start down this path? How do you cultivate this?
Which brings us to tapasya, right? That word comes up a lot.
Yes, tapasya is absolutely central here. You can think of it as intense self-refinement, often through struggle or at least dedicated effort, refining gold.
Ah, through fire.
Exactly. It needs that heat, that pressure to burn away the impurities. Tapasya is kind of like that for your inner self. It requires real dedication, perseverance, pushing past what you think your limits are.
So it's definitely not easy then. Requires real commitment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Serious discipline, sustained effort over time. And history, or at least these traditional accounts, they're full of examples. You have Rishi Vishwamitra, who famously spent decades, literally decades, in intense practice to become a Brahmarishi.
Decades. Wow. And then there's Ravana too, isn't there? He performed intense tapasya to get boons from Shiva.
That's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
It shows that tapasya itself, the intense effort, isn't inherently good or bad. It's about the focused will. Ravana's later actions are another story, but his initial tapasya was undeniably powerful.
So the focus is on the intensity, the dedication.
Exactly. And then you have the story of Bhagirath. Just incredible. His tapasya involved years and years of deep meditation, all aimed at one single thing, bringing the river Ganga down to earth for the benefit of everyone. The sheer scale of that dedication, it really shows you what tapasya can mean, setting an almost impossible goal and pouring everything into it.
Years of meditating just to bring a river down. That really puts the commitment level into perspective.
Wow. Okay, so then we get to the Ashtasiddhis, the yogic powers. What exactly are these? Right, the Ashtasiddhis. This refers to 8 specific you could call them perfections or yogic powers that are said to become accessible through very deep, consistent yoga practice.
8 of them. Okay, what are these abilities? They sound pretty extraordinary.
They do. So first is anima. That's described as the ability to become as tiny as an atom, like ultimate subtlety.
Okay.
Then mahima, the opposite, becoming huge, immense, like a mountain, mastery of vastness.
Right.
Garima is the siddhi of making the body incredibly heavy, and lagima is becoming weightless, light as a feather.
Heavy and light. Got it.
Then there's prapti, which is about reaching anywhere instantly, teleportation, essentially. And prakamya, the ability to fulfill any desire you have.
Fulfill any desire.
Wow.
And the last two is Shitva, which is described as absolute lordship, sort of control over natural forces, and Vashitva, the power to influence or control other beings and elements.
These sound straight out of myths and legends. So how does one, is it just about doing yoga poses? Well, yoga is the foundation, definitely. But achieving these siddhis, it's traditionally seen as the result of extremely deep, consistent practice, often combined with that intense tapasya we talked about, sometimes over lifetimes.
Okay.
It's about gaining mastery over the subtle energies, both within you and in the universe around you. But what's really stressed, and this is important, is the ethical side.
Right.
The use of these powers must be aligned with truth, satya, and righteousness, dharma. Power without that moral compass that's seen as incredibly dangerous.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned Hanuman earlier using some of these.
Yes. His trip to Lanka in the Ramayana is often cited. He uses cities like becoming tiny, Anima, to sneak into the city undetected, and then later becoming enormous, Mahima, to show his power. It's a practical illustration in the stories.
So these aren't just dusty concepts from ancient text. Are there accounts of people, maybe more recently, showing these kinds of abilities?
Well, that's where it gets really intriguing. Yes, there are figures known as Siddha Purush, realized beings in, let's say, more recent history, who are said to have had such abilities. Like, people like Ninkaroli Baba or Trailangaswamy, Lahiri Mahasaya, their names come out often in this context.
Okay, can you give us an example? What were they said to have done?
Well, one famous story about Trailangaswamy is that people apparently saw him sitting calmly, just floating or sitting on the surface of the Ganges River for long stretches.
Sitting on the river.
That's the story. Seemingly defying gravity, you know? And Lahiri Mahasaya, he was said to have this incredible inner vision, able to perceive events happening far away as if physical distance meant nothing.
Those are pretty remarkable anecdotes, but you made a point earlier that these individuals didn't seem to have big egos despite these apparent powers.
That's absolutely key. The traditional view is that real spiritual progress leads away from ego, towards oneness. The powers, if they manifest, are seen almost as side effects of that deeper realization, not something to show off or use for personal gain.
Okay, that's a crucial distinction. Now let's get into the mechanics a bit. You mentioned chakras earlier. How do these energy centers fit into this journey towards, well, superhuman potential?
Right, the chakra system. It's usually described as a network of subtle energy centers in the body. The whole journey towards higher consciousness is often mapped onto these chakras, starting from the base, the Muladhara or root chakra, and moving up sequentially to the Sahasrara, the crown chakra at the top of the head. Think of them as hubs influencing different parts of your being, physical, mental, emotional.
And Kundalini Shakti, that's tied in with the chakras, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. Kundalini Shakti is often visualized as this powerful, dormant energy coiled at the base of the spine, like a serpent.
Okay.
Many yogic practices aim to awaken this energy and guide it upwards through the central channel, activating each chakra as it goes.
And how does that relate to the siddhis, the powers?
Well, the idea is that as these chakras open up, as the Kundalini energy rises and activates them, these yogic powers can start to manifest naturally. It's like unlocking different potentials as the energy system becomes more vibrant and balanced.
So it's all tied together, the practices, the energy system, the ability.
Exactly. It's a whole interconnected system. And the peak of this process, when the Sahasrara chakra fully awakens, that's described as this incredibly profound state of unity. The yogi literally perceives the entire universe within themselves, leading to just boundless surrender and bliss.
That sounds, yeah, profound. But with such powerful potential, surely there must be downsides, dangers involved with these siddhis.
Oh, absolutely. And the traditions are very clear about this. It's a crucial point of caution.
Okay.
They strongly emphasize that using siddhis for ego, for greed, for showing off, it leads to destruction. Guaranteed. The intention behind using the power is everything.
So motive is paramount.
Completely. Look at the cautionary tales like Ravana, who we mentioned, or Hiranyakashipu. They gained immense power through tapasa, no doubt. Right. But their arrogance, their misuse of that power for selfish ends ultimately led to their downfall. They serve as warnings, really.
And wasn't there a story about a rishi and a king you mentioned, Durvasa?
Yes, Durvasa, Rishi, and King Ambarish. It's classic. Durvasa was known for his incredible powers from tapasya, but also his quick temper. He felt slighted by the king and unleashed his power in anger. But King Ambarish, through his humility and devotion, was protected. It perfectly shows how negative emotions, ego, anger, they can corrupt even great spiritual attainment.
It really drives home that inner purity is maybe even more important than just getting the powers.
Precisely.
So, okay, let's bring it back to the practical. What are some of the actual disciplines involved? What does this tapasya, this transformation practice, look like day to day?
Well, it's usually a combination of things. Consistent, deep meditation, dhyana, is fundamental. Cultivating that inner stillness, that awareness.
Right, meditation.
Then there's pranayama, breath control exercises, vital for managing your life force energy, your prana. Brahmacharya is another big one, often translated as celibacy, but it's broader. It's about consciously managing all your vital energies responsibly.
Ah, okay. More than just celibacy.
Yes. And Mon, the practice of silence, conserving mental energy, deepening introspection, and seva, selfless service. Helping others without expecting anything back. It purifies the heart, reduces the ego. These are tools, for refining your whole being.
So it's a really holistic approach, working on yourself from multiple angles.
Exactly. They all work together to fundamentally shift your inner landscape, to create the right internal conditions for these, well, let's call them superhuman qualities to potentially emerge. And underlying it all, the tradition always emphasizes faith, shraddha, surrender, samarpan, and often the guidance and grace of a teacher, a guru kripa.
You mentioned a really inspiring story before we sign off, Yogi Milarepa.
Yeah.
Can you share a bit more about him? His transformation sounds incredible.
Milarepa's story, it's just a powerful example of this potential for transformation within everyone. His early life, by his own account, was filled with negativity, even harmful actions.
Okay.
But through incredible dedication, intense tapasya, and deep meditation under his guru, Marpa, he underwent a complete turnaround, a radical transformation. It really shows that no matter where you start from, profound awakening is possible.
What was so remarkable about his practice? You mentioned something specific.
Yeah, the detail that always stands out is him meditating naked in the snow, high in the Himalayas.
Naked in the snow.
Yes. Apparently, his dedication was so fierce, his inner meditative heat, called tumo, became so strong that his body literally radiated heat, melting the snow around him. It's this vivid image of the power of disciplined inner focus.
An incredibly powerful image. So the main takeaway from Milarepa in terms of transcending limits?
I think the core lesson is that every single one of us, regardless of past mistakes or limitations we think we have, we all possess this incredible inherent potential for deep, meaningful change. It comes through committed practice, through dedicated inner work. It's really a message of hope.
So it's not just ancient legends, this potential for inner evolution, for moving beyond our perceived limits. It's actually within everyone listening right now.
That's the essence of it, yes. Tapasya, meditation, consistent practice. These presented as the keys, the means to unlock that potential within yourself.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What aspects of your own inner self are you ready to maybe explore or even transform?
That's definitely the question to sit with. And speaking of exploration, our next deep dive should be fascinating too. We're going into Amrit, the elixir of immortality, Rasayan, Soma, and immortal yogis.
Oh, wow. Immortality.
Yeah, we'll be looking at the mysteries behind those compelling stories of longevity and immortality across different traditions.
Sounds like another deep journey. Well, thank you so much for guiding us through all of this today. It's been truly mind-expanding.
My pleasure entirely. Until next time, keep exploring.